to get a hold of you to say, hey, we have this coming up. We just want you to know.
Well, so obviously, like, we don't do permitting or anything, so they don't have to, but it's so much nicer. And we've seen some overlaps, unfortunately, this spring with, like, big organizations having events on the same day at the same time. So if letting us know helps, but and not just us at the Oil Region Alliance, but like it's good for the chambers to, circulate those things. And the idea with festivals and a lot of things have the same dates year after year. So making sure that we're, everybody's spread out as much as you can, but there's only so many days and there's only so many weekends. But it helps to know and just be able to facilitate that, and then to help spread those crowds around. Because if you're having an event over here in the, the north side of the county and north side of the National Heritage area, and you want to remind people, hey, while you're here, you should also hit these couple of spots in the south, or doing, similar things or very different things, but are also interesting and worthwhile, so people can make the most of their visits. And then you talked about staycations. As a local person, there's so much stuff that you can do here throughout the year, but there's also so much stuff that's going on for free. So really get out and take advantage of those things while they're available. Support those organizations that are putting them on. If you have a couple bucks to throw in a donation bucket, that's always greatly appreciated. But and like and share and spread the word on social media too. That helps so much to just get the word out. One of the worst things in the world you can hear is, oh, I didn't know that was going on, and if I had, I would have gone. It's like, okay, but we can't go door to door and tell everybody everything.
Has that replaced, there's nothing that happens around here?
I think maybe, which is sort of an improvement, right? We went from there's nothing to do to, there's clearly stuff to do, but I just didn't know about it in time to go. Yeah. But then we also hear where it's just like, I saw that was happening, but I was out of town, or I was really conflicted that I missed it. I wish I'd have been there. And then it's, mark your calendar for next year and like plan around these local things that are going on so you're not missing them in the future.
And I think a lot of organizations who hold events that happen every year have done a good job at saying, this is when we're going to do it, that second weekend of every month or of every year, or the last Friday or whatever it is. So, look forward. Speaking of which, an event coming up a week from Friday, Oil City Uncorked, which is... Yes,
we've got the Wine Walk in Oil City on Friday. Tickets are on sale now, and let's see, what's today's date? The 17th. You can still get the advanced pricing, cheaper tickets today until tomorrow. $30, I believe. Then they will become $35, but she's got like 19 or more vendors coming, like whiskey or distilleries, wine, so it's not all wine. So fun spirits and things to check out in Oil City. So look into that for sure. And then we've got a flower pot painting workshop at Tarbell House the next weekend.
Good to see you, Emily.
Thanks for having me, Luke.
Gold touched fresh record highs on Thursday. Prices for the precious metal hit just over $3,357 per ounce before easing back a little. Demand is sky high as traders seek out a refuge from the turbulence on stock markets sparked by global trade tensions. Independent analyst Ross Norman told Reuters that the gains are a warning bell, indicating that investors are recalibrating their outlook. Prices have also been supported by buying by central banks, with China adding to its gold reserves for a fifth straight month in March. Since it's priced in dollars, bullion is further helped by the tumbling value of the greenback, which makes it cheaper for investors holding other currencies. Gold is traditionally seen as a refuge in times of turmoil. Over the first quarter of this year, more than $21 billion has flowed into exchange-traded funds featuring the metal. That's the biggest inflow since the start of 2022, when markets were reacting to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The gains are causing chaos for some of the world's biggest gold fans. Indians buy huge amounts of the precious metal, often as jewellery for weddings. Traders there say the rising prices have seen demand all but evaporate, with people having to trade in their old items to buy new pieces when there is a marriage in the family.
Vehicle shopping? Make sure you check out Titusville Ford first. Shop our amazing selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock. Visit us on Route 8 in Titusville and see why our customer service is a cut above the rest. Titusville Ford, your hometown dealer.
Winter rages on in northwest Pennsylvania, and luckily Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning is only a phone call away when your heating emergency strikes. Whether it's residential or light commercial, new construction, repair or replacement, Vanderhoof has the experience to get the job done right. Call today to set up an appointment or visit the Vanderhoof website to learn more. At Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning, we look forward to fulfilling all of your HVAC needs and projects now and into the future. Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning in Titusville.
Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding is located at 305 East Spring Street in Titusville. Marsh Home Center welcomes you in to explore their growing inventory of name brand furniture, appliances, and bedding. Need something not currently in stock? No problem. Order from Marsh's online catalog and have it delivered right to your door. Visit Marsh's to see their entire showroom. Ask questions, see what items are on sale, or just stop in and say hi. Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding, behind Giant Eagle in Titusville.
Looking for expert orthopedic care? Dr. Charlie Gates, a trusted name at Titusville Area Hospital, can help you regain mobility and a better quality of life. With years of experience and a passion for personalized care, Dr. Gates specializes in treating a wide range of orthopedic conditions. Whether it's joint pain, sports injuries, or orthopedic surgery, trust Dr. Charlie Gates at Titusville Area Hospital for your orthopedic care. Call 814-827-9770 today to schedule your appointment.
Welcome to Inspire Med Spa, the place you know and love for massages, Botox, laser resurfacing, and semi-permanent makeup. Now we're offering even more, including laser hair removal, tattoo removal, and hair rejuvenation. Our team is here to provide expert care in a peaceful, luxurious environment designed with your relaxation in mind. And with our newly added services, now you can get all your beauty services in one place. Visit Inspire Med Spa today, because you deserve to look and feel your best.
Interstate Pipe and Supply takes pride in providing superior customer service. That's why our dedicated employees are well trained and have the experience to offer friendly, quick, and reliable service and support. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Interstate offers fast delivery from our 4 locations in Western Pennsylvania. We also serve Eastern Ohio, Northern Western Virginia, and Western New York. Service means business at Western Pennsylvania's premier pipe and supply company, Interstate Pipe and Supply.
Whether you want to go and lead in your craft in the trades, whether you want to go and be that nurse or medical worker and have a real impact on lives, or whether you want to go and help that business improve its bottom line, this is the place, and now is your time to go with confidence, to go with skill, to go succeed. The Education and Training Center at Pitt Titusville.
I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us, but try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same. But you have excuses because you're old, so it's okay.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at soundidouttogether.org.
It's Chevy Truck Month at Community Chevrolet, your Silverado headquarters. So we're getting out the Price Slicer.
Please handle with caution.
This truck month, save more than $9,000 off the new Chevy Silverado 1500 Custom Crew. More than $4,000 off the Silverado 1500 Crew Cab Custom. And more than $2,500 off the 2500.
With 3.9% financing for 5 human years.
The Price Slicer's out all truck month, only at Community Chevrolet.
Fed Chair Jerome Powell says Trump's tariffs were even higher than the central bank had expected. Michael Landsberg of Landsberg Bennett Private Wealth Management, what did you make of Fed Chair Powell's comments today?
Lisa, I thought a lot of it was expected. I think he understands they don't have a real grasp of where anything's going to go. Growth is going to decelerate. We had that decelerating pre-tariffs. And obviously with the tariffs, it's a cloud about what's going to happen. And I think some of their guesstimations as to where we're going to be are very clouded at this point. I think the market hoped that he would be clairvoyant and tell us where everything's going to go. But in reality, they haven't really had a good direction of where inflation is going to go in the last year or so. And I think right now you're in an environment where it's probably better to be patient than not.
So Wall Street's main indexes were down before Powell started speaking, and they fell further. So what specifically do you think really concerned investors the most?
I think there was talk there that the tariffs were going to affect earnings later on. And he didn't necessarily say how much it was going to be, but obviously the idea that it was larger than expected in terms of the tariffs, I think scared some of the market participants to say, hey, maybe earnings may decelerate more than we're expecting. I think most on Wall Street are expecting a deceleration from the first quarter to the second. It's still up year over year, but there's obviously going to be deceleration. Right now it becomes unknown. And I think the big issue we're going to see with earnings coming out is the earlier in earnings season you are, the better your numbers are going to be, because there's less tariff talk and less some of this investor sentiment that kind of crept in the back half of the first quarter.
When you hear Powell say something like these tariffs were so much larger than we were expecting, what do you think? I mean, between that disconnect between the man who runs the Federal Reserve and the man who runs this country, does that surprise you at all? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think most people on Wall Street thought this was going to be Trump 1.0, just continued, that the tariffs were going to be basically a big stick that Trump would use to kind of beat people into submission. And I don't think they really thought we'd actually get actual tariffs. In reality, we've kind of positioned for the fact that we're going to get tariffs. It shouldn't have been much of a surprise to people because Trump gave everybody a month before Liberation Day to say tariffs are going to be here. So it's tough for me to believe that nobody thought we're going to see tariffs. Yeah, they may be a little bit higher than some other spots, but the fact we got them shouldn't be a surprise. And I think now what's happened is, the president's had to walk back some of them related to Europe. But I think now, obviously, what's going on with China, I think it's going to be here for a while.
Powell was very clear in saying that Trump's tariffs move the Federal Reserve away from its dual mandate, right? So most traders at this point are still expecting a June rate cut. Do you agree with that?
I would. I think the Fed's going to cut multiple times this year simply because the fear of a recession is going to be here. I don't think necessarily the numbers are going to get you there. I think inflation's coming down. I'm not sure what data Chairman Powell's looking at, but I haven't really known what data he's looking at the last couple of years. He thought it was transitory when it went to 9. Last year at this time, he thought it was going to go to 2 and it went to 3. So I'm not sure what data he's looking at, but when I look at earnings, they are decelerating. So I think that's a little bit of a concern. They won't get to be recessionary levels. And inflation is going to be low. But what I think has been good has been the job markets have held up very well. I think Wall Street clamoring for Fed rate cuts will probably get some. I think there's a lot of chatter. A lot of market positions aren't in good shape. I think you'll get some probably starting in June.
With more market volatility likely ahead, are you somebody that's buying on the dips in particular areas?
Absolutely not. So what we've done here, and back in January, we rebalanced. We took some exposure off the table in February, specifically in tech and the Mag 7. Our belief is not that we don't like those companies longer term. The market was too concentrated. They had great wins in 23 and 24. It made sense to take money off the table from a rebalancing standpoint. We also looked and said, so much of the market has been driven by those 7 to 10 names. There's going to be a kind of a correction at some point, and we've kind of seen that. I think the areas you want to look at are the stuff that's worked. So, for example, gold miners have worked, insurance has worked, staples has worked. We continue to add to those. I don't want to be buying tech simply because I think tariffs can continue, and specifically with China, large supplier of product in the tech market. We don't know what's going to happen, so why kind of stick your hand in there to potentially get it kind of bitten off?
U.S. stocks ended mixed Thursday, closing out the holiday-shortened week in the red. The Dow was the biggest loser on Thursday, dropping 1.33%. The S&P 500 ended with a small gain, while the Nasdaq finished slightly lower. A late-in-the-day turn lower suggested traders were wary of owning U.S. stocks over the long weekend. Instead, they may be looking overseas, said Melissa Brown, Managing Director of Investment Decision Research at SimCorp.
I think, first of all, if, there is another announcement on tariffs in 90 days, or 90-ish days, I guess by now, we're still in kind of a period of limbo in between now and then, which, in which this uncertainty, could fester and, maybe cause more problems. I think we've already seen a lot of money flowing from the U.S. outside of the U.S., which is why, we've seen the dollar weaker. And European markets doing better than the U.S. market. And so I think I'm not sure that we can go back to just everything, going up the way it had been.
Thursday's market movers include Eli Lilly, which surged more than 14% after announcing that its experimental pill worked as well as Ozempic for weight loss. Shares of United Health Group plunged over 22% following a surprising quarterly earnings miss and a bleak full-year forecast. Other health insurers also slumped, with CVS Health and Humana both suffering losses. The stock market will be closed for the Good Friday holiday.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. Tariffs are highly likely to generate at least a temporary rise in inflation. The inflationary effects could also be more persistent. Where we are now, again to your question, is the administration is, as I mentioned in my remarks, is implementing significant policy changes, and particularly trade now is the focus. And the effects of that are likely to move us away from our goals. So unemployment is likely to go up as the economy slows in all likelihood, and inflation is likely to go up as tariffs find their way, and some part of those tariffs come to be paid by the public. One is just the size of the effects, and as I mentioned, the tariffs are larger than forecasters had expected, certainly larger than we expected, even in our upside case. We looked at a range of cases. So that's one. The second one is how long does it take for the tariffs to have their effects on inflation? To the extent it takes longer and longer, that raises the risks that the public will begin to experience higher inflation. They'll come to expect it, and companies will come to expect it. So that risks higher inflation.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Thursday lashed out at Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, saying his termination, quote, cannot come fast enough. In a Truth Social post, Trump said Powell, quote, should have lowered interest rates like the European Central Bank long ago, and that he should, quote, certainly lower them now. The ECB cut its key rate 1/4 point on Thursday in response to a growth outlook that had deteriorated owing to trade tensions in the wake of Trump's efforts to raise tariffs.
I don't think it's a fair comparison for Trump to make between the ECB and the U.S. Fed.
Melissa Brown is Managing Director of Investment Decision Research at SimCore.
I think we're seeing some very different economic numbers coming out of the Eurozone versus what's coming out of the U.S. So they have more room to move rates down without worrying about, triggering inflation. I think the ECB is much more worried about the impact of tariffs on Eurozone economies. Powell has a different mandate. In the U.S., the expectation is that these tariffs will be inflationary. He's got a really, really tough job, I think, of balancing between, we certainly don't want inflation to go way back up, but we also do need to worry about the economic impact.
Trump's attack comes a day after Powell warned that Trump's tariff policies risked pushing U.S. inflation and employment further away from the Fed's goals. He also spoke of the central bank's independence during an event at the Economic Club of Chicago.
Fed independence is very widely understood and supported in Washington, in Congress, where it really matters. We're never going to be influenced by any political pressure.
Powell, who Trump nominated for Fed chair during his first term, also said the central bank was not prepared to move policy in any direction or at any pace until Trump's tariff plans are finalized and their impact is more clear. Powell's term as chair expires in May 2026.
From how China will buffer its economy to how corporate America is holding up, these are the stories to watch in business and finance in the coming week. China sets its benchmark lending rates on Monday as investors brace for more monetary easing from Beijing to help offset hefty U.S. tariffs. Tariffs between the world's two largest economies now stand at eye-watering levels of more than 100%. Some banks are already cutting their China growth forecasts in a sign of the toll the trade war is expected to take. A slew of quarterly earnings in the coming week could shed greater light on how U.S. companies are wrestling with a shifting trade landscape. Tesla and Alphabet are the first of the Magnificent Seven companies to report quarterly results. Reports are also slated from 3M, Boeing, IBM, Merck, Intel, and Procter & Gamble. Investors will look for any insight from executives into the fallout from tariffs. Wednesday's April flash PMIs should also give markets a sense of the first hit from Trump's tariff chaos. U.S. companies' input prices were already feeling the heat before the latest measures, and Canada's services PMI had hit a 5-year low. The key number to watch is the U.S. manufacturing PMI input prices index. Finance officials head to Washington for the IMF World Bank spring meetings. It's one of the biggest gatherings of such policymakers in the year, and jobs growth, trade tensions, and a glum growth outlook will be in the focus. Among the big set items is the fund's global economic outlook, to be released on Tuesday.
From why a tariff tit for tat just might have peaked, to why gold is looking ever more shiny, this is the week in numbers. 145% might be as high as US tariffs go on China. Donald Trump said Thursday that he didn't want to go any further and could even think about bringing the duties down. He said he was hopeful he would strike trade deals with China and the EU.
I mean, everybody wants to make a deal.
$5.5 billion is the total charge being taken by Nvidia over US curbs on its sales to China. Washington has now restricted exports of its H20 AI chips, previously the most advanced models still permitted for sale to China. Nvidia says US officials are worried its products could be used to build supercomputers. 0.25 percentage point was the cut to rates by the European Central Bank, marking its 7th reduction in a year. Bank President Christine Lagarde indicated the bloc's economy needs help amid rising trade tensions.
Downside risks to economic growth have increased.
Trump called on the US Federal Reserve to do likewise, blasting Chair Jerome Powell for being too slow to cut rates. 5.4% was the jump in China's GDP over the January to March quarter, better than analysts expected. But economists say the numbers were probably flattered by a surge in exports as shippers rushed to beat US tariffs. They say the figures could plunge over the months ahead as Trump's levies kick in. And over $3,300 per ounce was the fresh record high hit by gold. The precious metal is soaring as investors seek out perceived safe havens amid the market turmoil. Since gold is priced in dollars, it's also been boosted by the sliding greenback, which makes it cheaper to buy for investors holding other currencies.
drill.
Well, on this Good Friday, let's take a look at that weather forecast for Northwest Pennsylvania. Overcast today, but really warm. Mid-70s for a high. Cloudy this evening, scattered thunderstorms developing after midnight. Lows in the low 60s. Saturday, looking at rain in upper 60s. Sunday, mostly cloudy for Easter and highs in the low 60s. Monday, rain showers, low 70s. Tuesday, partly cloudy with temperatures in the upper 50s. Meadville this morning checking in at 50 degrees. Cambridge Springs, Edinburgh at 50. Titusville 46. Franklin this morning 45. Oil City 41 degrees here at 6:53. This is the morning drill. You're watching it on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Happy Friday. It's Good Friday. It's Holy Week, and we've got Easter coming up this weekend. We'll be talking a lot more about that next hour with our guests. From Grace Fellowship Church, Pastor Phil Taylor will join us. From the First Methodist Church, Pastor Tom Barnard will be joining us. So looking forward to those guests. And we'll be wrapping things up here this morning with Mr. Sports, Bruce Peterson. Not a kind of a wild night last night in baseball action. So a couple nights ago, Pirates hit one of the national players, broke his nose right in the... There's no way he meant to do it. I made the comment yesterday that I felt bad. I feel bad for these players playing in the cold, and it just seems like you can't really get a whole lot on the ball, and control is tough. Well, last night, Washington Nationals manager and Martinez and pitcher Lopez were suspended by Major League Baseball after the team intentionally threw at Pittsburgh Pirates fielder Andrew McCutchen, the league announced Thursday. You can go online. You can see the clip. I don't know if they're getting back at the Pirates for the other night. I don't know if McCutchen, I think, hit a homer off of Lopez last year, and I don't know what the deal is, but they're going through the video, and I think Lopez is... trying to fight this, saying it wasn't intentional. But so, yeah, crazy night last night. Pirates, I believe, ended up winning that one. Final there, 1-0 over the Nationals. Diamondbacks beat the Marlins 6-4. Mariners over the Reds in 10 innings, 11-7. Orioles with the win over the Guardians, 6-2. Phillies with the 6-4 win over the Giants. A's beat the White Sox 8-0. Tigers with the win over the Royals, 6-1. Yankees beat the Rays, 6-3. Mets with the 4-1 win over the Cardinals, and the Rangers over the Los Angeles Angels, 5-3, the final. Baseball for today. You got some afternoon games at 2:30. The Cubs taking on the Diamondbacks. Then tonight at 6:40, the Pirates will welcome the Cleveland Guardians into Pittsburgh. That'd be a fun one to watch. Tigers and Royals at 6:40. You got Phillies and Marlins tonight, Rays and Yankees, Orioles and Reds, Blue Jays taking on the Mariners, Mets and Cardinals, Red Sox, White Sox, Braves and Twins, Rangers, Dodgers, Astros, Padres, Brewers, A's, Rockies and Nationals, A's and Giants all tonight. Hockey, it's the Senators with the win over the Hurricanes, 7-5. Blue Jackets over the Islanders, 6-1. Maple Leafs beat the Red Wings in overtime, 4-3. 5-2 win for the Penguins over the Capitals. Sabres beat the Flyers. Flames over the Kings. If you're looking for hockey tonight, well, you're not going to find anything. Saturday, you got the Jets and the Blues kicking off that series at 6, and the number 2 ranked Dallas Stars hosting the 3 ranked Colorado Avalanche at 8:30. And TNT will have both of those matchups for you in hockey action. When you look at the NBA, you've got tonight the Hawks hosting the Heat, 8-ranked Atlanta and 10-ranked Heat at 7. That game will be shown, looks like TNT and True TV. 8-ranked Memphis will host the 10th-ranked Dallas Mavericks at 9:30 tonight. That's NBA action. Well, here we've got birthdays, what we're celebrating. That's coming up next hour after the 7 o'clock news. We'll bring you the latest headlines. I think you're all ready to go. We're going to do not just what we're celebrating today, but through the weekend.
Yes, we are.
So looking forward to that. You look like you're glad it's Friday. Busy week?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Amy's in the financial business world of banking. Has it been crazy with tariffs and stuff, or not too bad?
Not too bad. I say that. I mean, it's definitely affected a lot of our, our businesses and customers. But I mean, they're doing a great job.
Nobody's like burying cash or anything.
No, yeah, no,
Okay.
that usually happens around the election itself.
Ah.
No, it's okay. I do want to say this. Like, I'm going to put this out because I always say when places are closed, banks are not federally regulated. I'll say that banks are not closed on Good Friday.
Okay.
They are not.
So they'll be open for business day. Okay.
So.
Did that, I don't think even crossed my mind.
Well,
Post office?
I'm not sure. I have no idea.
Oh,
I don't know.
I assume they're open today.
Yeah. I just know that we got, like 82 phone calls. They used to be.
Wow.
Like, really, seriously, they used to be. And then they used to close down some banks on Wednesday afternoons.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but it's been a hot minute since that's happened.
I grew up also in the age where you didn't have games or practice Wednesday nights.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, same.
All right. Well, we can talk more about that. 7 o'clock, your headlines are coming up next.
Given talks with Japan and Italy this week, do you expect to announce an initial trade deal with any of these countries by next
At a
week?
certain point, yeah, we're in no rush. We're in no rush. You have to understand we're getting right now 25% on cars, 25% on steel, 25% on aluminum. We're getting a 10% baseline. We took that down just because it was, the appropriate thing to do until we decide what the number will be. And we're, taking in a lot of money. We're going to end up with a baseline of a substantial number, which we never got anything. The United States never got anything until I came along, and then I put very substantial tariffs on China, if you remember. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars.
The relationship with President Xi, why not pick up the phone and call him and make a deal?
Oh, we're going to make a deal. We'll have a deal. I think we're going to make a very good deal with China.
Do you plan to reach out to him and call him?
I think that you will see we'll make a very good deal with China.
And these very open, very frank discussions will have made it possible to advance the thinking of the Europeans, the Ukrainians, and the Americans who have agreed to meet next week in London to continue discussions on this basis. So that we can hope in the very near future to achieve a full and complete unconditional ceasefire, to which the Ukrainians have already agreed and to which we hope Russia will agree in turn.
Et auquel nous souhaitons que la Russie puisse consentir à son tour.
For a long time, we feared that the Europeans would not be around the table. Well, today, it is in Paris that the Europeans, the Americans, and the Ukrainians have met for the first time. Thank you.
Je vous remercie.
The Gordon B. Garrett Funeral Home has been serving the needs of Titusville and surrounding communities since 1965. Mr. Garrett believed in tradition and commitment to excellence, standards that have been passed down from one generation to now a new generation, who will work to provide you with a beautiful, lasting tribute to your loved one. When you need them, they will be there for you. This has been their foundation for almost 60 years. The Gordon B. Garrett Funeral Home, 303 North Washington Street in Titusville.
Anyone with a kind and generous heart and a little money can be a philanthropist. You too can be a force for good in our community, and the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation is here to help you make the most of your charitable giving. We've partnered with hundreds of people like you to make our world and our community a better place. You can give through us to support scholarships or any charitable organization or purpose. Whether you're interested in establishing a permanent endowment or adding to an existing fund, we want to be a part of your plan. Contact us when you're ready to make your mark. Together, we can make your contribution go further.
If you're looking for a professional massage therapist, Tranquil Moments Massage in Titusville is here for you. Ray and Rauch graduated from Slippery Rock University with a bachelor's degree in exercise and rehabilitative sciences with an emphasis in athletic training. Tranquil Moments offers a wide range of services, from Swedish massage to deep tissue, sugar scrubs to hot towel inclusion therapy. Like them on Facebook and visit their website to learn more about all the services they offer. Tranquil Moments Massage in Titusville.
Thinking about switching to 5G home internet? Think again. Unlike Zoom from Armstrong, 5G home internet is delivered by a cell tower. The further away you are, or the more devices connected to that tower, the slower your internet is. Cell phone providers also play favorites. When their network gets busy, cell phones win, and your home internet pays the price. Stick with Armstrong to get more data, more speed, and internet whenever you need it, not whenever they want. Armstrong, keeping you connected.
J. Gill Plumbing and Heating takes pride in being the premier heating and air conditioning service provider in the area. With over 30 years of experience, our highly skilled and certified technicians will work closely with you to address your heating and air conditioning repair, installation, or maintenance needs. Our team is dedicated to making your home the ultimate place of comfort. Call today to get a free estimate. We also offer financing options and membership opportunities that provide peace of mind and cost savings. Call J. Gill Plumbing and Heating today or visit them online 24/7 at jgillplumbingheating.com.
Sheer Design is Titusville's exclusive Paul Mitchell focused salon. This full-service salon specializes in coloring, cuts, nails, and tanning. Owner Angela Saxon has over 20 years experience as a Paul Mitchell professional. She and her licensed staff offer all cuts and styles for men and women of all ages. Call 814-827-0010 or stop in at 116 South Kerr Street in Titusville.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Levin, and I proudly own and operate Puppy Levin. Puppy Levin is a pet care salon dedicated to caring for your furry companions. We provide certified dog grooming services along with boarding and doggy daycare. Our facility is family-owned and operated and promise personalized care for every pet that comes through our doors. If you're worried about your furry friend being lonely when you're gone, we also have on-site personnel 24/7 just for their comfort. Follow us on Facebook and call or text us at 814-758-9259 to make an appointment today.
Share the fun of train travel and relive our country's oil history as you ride the OC&T through the valley that changed the world. Learn about the past while traveling on vintage cars. See a variety of wildlife with stops at Drakewell Park, Petroleum Center, and Oil Creek State Park. Arrive early and see the vast collection of train and railroad memorabilia at Perry Street Station. After the ride, enjoy a night stay at the Caboose Motel. For seasonal specials or for more information, visit octrr.org or call 814-676-1733.
U.S. stocks ended mixed Thursday, closing out the holiday-shortened week in the red. The Dow was the biggest loser on Thursday, dropping 1 1/3%. The S&P 500 ended with a small gain, while the Nasdaq finished slightly lower. A late-in-the-day turn lower suggested traders were wary of owning U.S. stocks over the long weekend. Instead, they may be looking overseas, said Melissa Brown, Managing Director of Investment Decision Research at SimCorp.
I think, first of all, if, there is another announcement on tariffs in 90 days, or 90-ish days, I guess by now, we're still in kind of a period of limbo in between now and then. which, in which this uncertainty, could fester. And maybe cause more problems. I think we've already seen a lot of money flowing from the U.S. outside of the U.S., which is why we've seen the dollar weaker, and European markets doing better than the U.S. market. And so I think I'm not sure that we can go back to just everything going up the way it had been.
Thursday's market movers include Eli Lilly, which surged more than 14% after announcing that its experimental pill worked as well as Ozempic for weight loss. Shares of United Health Group plunged over 22% following a surprising quarterly earnings miss and a bleak full-year forecast. Other health insurers also slumped, with CVS Health and Humana both suffering losses. The stock market will be closed for the Good Friday holiday.
What is Good Friday? If you've ever wondered about the meaning behind this day, about its significance, or why millions of people around the world observe it, we're going to unpack it together right now. Good Friday, a solemn day on the Christian calendar, takes place every year on the Friday before Easter. It's the day Christians commemorate the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, reflecting on his suffering and death. But don't let the name fool you. Good Friday isn't good in the cheerful sense. Rather, its name stems from an older linguistic interpretation of the word good, which in this case simply means holy. So perhaps it could be called Holy Friday, a day set apart in remembrance. Let's take a step back to understand the story that gives Good Friday its weight and meaning. The events leading up to Good Friday unfold during what Christians call Holy Week, an emotion-packed series of days commemorating the final week of Jesus' earthly life. On Palm Sunday, Jesus entered Jerusalem, welcomed by crowds who hailed him as a king. But as the week progressed, tension grew. Jesus challenged the religious leaders at the time, spoke difficult truths, and revealed the depth of his mission, a mission that included sacrifice. And then came Thursday evening, known as Maundy Thursday, the night of the Last Supper. It's here we see a poignant moment. Jesus breaking bread with his disciples and sharing wine, symbolic of his body and blood, foreshadowing what was to come the next day. As the night wore on, he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, wrestling with the agony of knowing what awaited him. Betrayed by one of his closest followers, Judas Iscariot, Jesus was arrested, tried, and condemned to death.
So now, Good Friday. This is the day Jesus carried his cross to the hill of Golgotha, enduring humiliation, unbearable pain, and ultimately crucifixion. For Christians, his suffering wasn't just physical, it carried a spiritual weight. It's believed that Jesus bore the sins of humanity in those moments, offering himself as a bridge of redemption, a profound act of selfless love. His final words, as recorded in the Gospels, echo through the centuries, "It is finished." Good Friday, then, isn't just a day of somber remembrance.
It's also a day that sets hope in motion. Without the grief and loss of Good Friday, the celebration and joy of Easter, the day Christians believe Jesus rose from the dead, wouldn't exist. So how do people observe it? The rituals can vary. Some attend long church services marked by prayer, reflection, and the retelling of Jesus' final hours through scripture and song. Others spend the day in quiet contemplation, fasting, or performing acts of kindness. In many Christian communities, it's a day of stripping away distractions to focus on the gravity of sacrifice and the hope of redemption. Good Friday asks us all, no matter our beliefs, to pause and reflect on themes that transcend any one faith: sacrifice, love, and the resilience of hope in the face of the darkest moments. That's its legacy, and that's why it still holds meaning today.
Well, severe thunderstorms will be on the prowl each day through Easter Sunday and will mainly focus from Texas to the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region. Some areas may be blasted by severe weather for 2 or 3 days in a row. The repeating storms will be triggered by a building area of high pressure near Florida and clash between warm air and air to the southeast, as well as the cold air to the northwest. The high pressure area will cause this zone to stall over the central states, but farther to the northwest than earlier in the month. And that sets up kind of this weekend. Here's what we're looking at. Overcast today with temperatures around 75. Going to be a nice day today. Cloudy this evening, scattered thunderstorms developing after midnight with lows in the low 60s. Saturday, rain showers, upper 60s for a high. Easter Sunday, mostly cloudy with a high in the low 60s. Monday, rain showers, low 70s. Tuesday, we hope that things will clear out with partly cloudy skies. We'll see some sunshine and temperatures on Tuesday in the upper 50s. And we're going to get back into the 70s for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. That could change, but that's what we're looking at. Meadville this morning at 51 degrees. Cambridge Springs, Edinburgh at 51. Titusville, 46 in Titusville. Franklin, 47. Oil City, 42 degrees here this morning. We're just waiting for the warmth to hit us, right? All right. 15 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. This is the Morning Drill. Live shot of Pittsburgh here this morning. I think Meadville's sort of bottling that heat as it's about 51 degrees there. Share it with us here in the East, right? It's warming up. Don't worry. It's going to be a great day. 75 today. Ooh, that's crazy. You've got birthdays, what we're celebrating. We're going to do that here in a couple minutes. Looking forward to that. I was asked recently if we've settled on what our second dish at dinner is going to be, because we had this discussion. I'm sort of surprised. We're hosting, usually we host, but we're hosting a lot of people this year. Mm-hmm. I think you're kind of excited about that.
Yeah, it'll be great.
You and I were arguing last night about dishes. I wanted to go with I thought appropriate with the amount of people, very nice paper plates, a little heavier stock paper plates. Just throw it away when you're done. And you're like, no, we're not doing that.
Not happening.
Yeah. So I think most people walked past the aisle and ignored the screaming, but that's okay.
Okay.
You want sophistication. I was going with another kind of sophistication with the heavier stock paper plates.
Mm-hmm. No.
would there have been any scenario where I would have won? Like if you saw a heavier stock paper plate that had a nice pattern to it?
No.
Just nothing at all?
No.
Notice I didn't even bring up like the plastic silverware to throw away. Because I thought, boy, that'd be easy too. Just toss it, and then we're not doing dishes at 10 o'clock at night. And that is the look I got before the screaming started. So, sort of, would you say unconventional? The second dish were...
Yeah, I would say for us. But I did get the stuff to pair it with a nice something.
Look at you.
Yeah. So I'm making it work.
Okay. So we're doing like the traditional ham.
Yeah, the traditional ham with
And by the way, a lot of people were throwing out suggestions. It was fantastic. I know you had discussed like lamb.
Yep.
What else?
Brisket.
Oh, brisket. But we went with...
barbecue turkey.
Yeah.
Which is
my special.
It's your specialty.
The family recipe that's been handed down. Listen, I don't do much. I can do that and a bowl of cereal. Maybe I can do waffles. But so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We usually have it around Christmas.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to make it this year. So I'm glad I have the opportunity. There was a while where we didn't do it for like a couple years, I think. So when we did it again, I was like, wow, this is good.
Yeah. I don't like turkey, nor do I like barbecue. So this is all you.
Okay. But it'll be served on your fancy plate, so just smile about that.
Yep.
Not the cardboard ones that I was hoping for.
No.
Okay. Well, it is the 18th day of April, so let's get into birthdays and what we're celebrating here this morning.
All right. So actor James Woods is 78.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, because we saw him yesterday.
Well, not him.
Well, yeah, his voice.
We heard his voice last night. We were flipping
Sorry.
through the channels. He was on something.
TV host Conan O'Brien is 62. Actress Maria Bello is 58. Actor David Tennant is 54. Actress Melissa Joan Hart is 49. Reality star Kourtney Kardashian is 46. Actress America Ferrera is 41. Actress Vanessa Kirby is 37. Actress Chloe Bennett is 33. And that is all.
Well, happy birthday to them. I like Conan. It's got a great podcast you can catch. YouTube. It might even be on SiriusXM or you download the app. But yeah, good stuff. And happy birthday to you if today happens to be your birthday from all of us. Or happy birthday to you if you're celebrating this weekend. It's Friday already. Let's get into what it is we're celebrating, not just today, but through the weekend. And again, it's the 18th of April.
All right. Adult Autism Awareness Day, Good Friday, International Day for Monuments and Sites, International Jugglers Day, Lineman Appreciation Day.
Did you ever practice? Did you ever do that, juggling? Never tried it? Never once?
Not a juggler.
You never saw like some tennis ball sitting around and you thought, oh, let me try it?
No, I throw. I don't juggle. I will throw, but not juggle. Lineman Appreciation Day, National Animal Cracker Day, National Exercise Day, National Newspaper Columnist Day, National Piñata Day, National Velociraptor Awareness Day.
You got to be careful out there.
Orthodox Good Friday, Pet Owners Independence Day, World Amateur Radio Day, World Marbles Day, Cleaning for a Reason Week, Fibroid Awareness Week, Global Campaign for Education Action Week, Health Information Professional Week, National and Global Youth Services Week, National Dance Week, Coachella Valley Music and Arts. And that is today.
You said Animal Cracker Day.
It is.
Do you remember the box, like the circus box you could get? And, man,
You
that
can
was
still get this.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
At the store?
Mm-hmm.
That was always fun. Do you think vegetarians eat animal crackers?
On Saturday, we celebrate. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you like how I did that? It's like your joke yesterday, like out of nowhere in the car, you tell the dumbest joke I've ever heard. All right. Black Saturday, Dutch American Friendship Day, Easter Saturday, Holy Saturday, Humorous Day. Oh, tell that joke again tomorrow because it's Husband Appreciation Day.
Yeah, see? There's no appreciation.
Tomorrow.
There's none.
Tell it tomorrow. I'll
No.
pretend to laugh. It's John Parker Day, Landing of the 33 Patriots Day, National Amaretto Day, National Cat Lady Day, National Dog Parent Appreciation Day. So look, you have a twofer there.
Pet Appreciation Day?
Dog Parent Appreciation Day.
Oh,
So
I don't think our dog. I think our dog appreciates us. I just don't think he's going to understand that that's tomorrow.
Yeah. It's National Garlic Day, National Hanging Out Day, National North Dakota Day, National Oklahoma City Bombing Commemoration Day, National Poker Day, Orthodox Holy Saturday, Poetry and Creative Mind Day, Record Store Day, Refresh Your Goals Day, Rice Ball Day, Sylvester the Cat Birthday, Cloth Nappy Week, Just Undergraduate Research Week, and that's all.
That's just tomorrow?
That's tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Sunday, 420, Chinese Language Day, Easter Sunday, Go Fly a Kite Day, International Cli-Fi Day, Last Day of Passover, Lima Bean Respect Day, Lookalike Day, National Baked Ham and Pineapple Day, National Cheddar Fries Day. You want to add that to the list, cheddar fries? National Death Doula Day, National Pineapple Upside Down Cake Day, National Stop Snoring Week, Orthodox Easter, UN Chinese Language Day, Volunteer Recognition Day, Administrative Professionals Week, Chemists Celebrate Earth Week, Infertility Awareness Week, International Mariachi Week, Medical Laboratory Professionals Week, National Coin Week, National Princess Week, National Volunteer Week, Sky Awareness Week, World Hula Week, and that is all.
All right. Find something there to celebrate. Quick break. We'll be right back. We do have news coming up here at the bottom of the hour.
Interstate Pipe and Supply takes pride in providing superior customer service. That's why our dedicated employees are well trained and have the experience to offer friendly, quick, and reliable service and support. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Interstate offers fast delivery from our 4 locations in Western Pennsylvania. We also serve Eastern Ohio, Northern Western Virginia, and Western New York. Service means business at Western Pennsylvania's premier pipe and supply company, Interstate Pipe and Supply.
Poppy's Equipment and Storage Rental in Pleasantville is committed to providing our customers with exceptional service while offering quality rental equipment. Poppy's is now an authorized steel dealer with everything you need to have for sawing and cutting or mowing to digging. And of course, Poppy's has tents, tables, chairs, heaters, generators, barbecues, and more for your next wedding or get-together. Need firewood or propane? No problem. Whether you're in construction or a weekend warrior, reach out to Poppy's about your next project. Poppy's Place on the Tenesta Road in Pleasantville.
Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding is located at 305 East Spring Street in Titusville. Marsh Home Center welcomes you in to explore their growing inventory of name brand furniture, appliances, and bedding. Need something not currently in stock? No problem. Order from Marsh's online catalog and have it delivered right to your door. Visit Marsh's to see their entire showroom. Ask questions, see what items are on sale, or just stop in and say hi. Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding, behind Giant Eagle in Titusville.
Your legacy is your story. Chapters filled with adventure, love, learning, challenge, and success that have played a part in your life, all set in the communities you care about. As you think about how to continue your story for generations to come, a Community Foundation Legacy Fund provides a personal and flexible opportunity. With a Legacy Fund, you can clearly spell out your wishes for the future by working alongside the Community Foundation to communicate and share your charitable goals. You can continue to play a role in the stories of your favorite causes and communities. Your estate plans provide a table of contents to chronicle your charitable giving. Our team can work alongside you and your professional advisors to assist in authoring future chapters. By naming your legacy fund in a will or trust, assets can be designated for giving after your lifetime. When you share your charitable story with the Community Foundation, we will ensure the causes that have been important characters in your life will continue to shape the stories of others. As you discover new organizations along the way, the flexibility of a legacy fund provides an opportunity to rewrite the organizations you wish to support after your lifetime without having to take your will or trust off the shelf. Your legacy fund can serve as inspiration for future generations. Whether you want to create a charitable giving fund for family members, establish endowments for sustainable support, or invest in the future needs of your community, we are here to help you continue your story. You can trust the Community Foundation will carry out your charitable wishes as your legacy fund brings your story to life. And as with any good story, thanks to your generosity, the causes and communities you care about will carry on happily ever after.
Well, we've got the latest headlines heading your way in just a couple minutes. We're approaching 7:30 here this morning on this 18th day of April. It is Good Friday. Weather looks like it's going to be absolutely fantastic today. Mid-70s. Hopefully we'll see some sunshine in there. Yesterday it was just kind of nice. Later it seemed like it got warmer and warmer, which was nice. But yeah, we've got not only your headlines, we'll let you know what's going on Wall Street. We've got sports headlines for you. The RBC Heritage going on, one of my favorites. It's you get all that pressure from the Masters, which is such a wonderful event, but then kind of relaxes quite a bit this weekend with the RBC Heritage, and the first round wrapped up yesterday, second round action today, so looking forward to kind of catching that throughout the weekend. Looking forward to just getting out and playing some golf. How about you?
Yeah.
We've been talking the last couple of years about, well, it would be fun to do like a couples league. But I was talking to some friends of ours, and I think it's like, well, maybe once the kids are out of the house.
Yeah.
That might be something fun to do. Things calm down a little bit, maybe?
Sure.
Okay. We'll take that. 7:30, your headlines are next. This is the Morning Drill.
Given talks with Japan and Italy this week, do you expect to announce an initial trade deal with any of these countries by next week?
At a certain point, yeah. We're in no rush. We're in no rush. You have to understand we're getting right now 25% on cars, 25% on steel, 25% on aluminum. We're getting a 10% baseline. We took that down just because it was, the appropriate thing to do until we decide what the number will be. And we're, taking in a lot of money. We're going to end up with a baseline of a substantial number, which we never got anything. The United States never got anything until I came along, and then I put very substantial tariffs on China, if you remember. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Relationship with President Xi. Why not pick up the phone and call him and make a deal?
Oh, we're going to make a deal. We'll have a deal. I think we have
Mr. President?
I think we're going to make a very good deal with China.
Do you plan to reach out to him and call him?
I think that you will see we'll make a very good deal with China.
Et ces discussions très ouvertes, très franches.
And these very open, very frank discussions will have made it possible to advance the thinking of the Europeans, the Ukrainians, and the Americans who have agreed to meet next week in London to continue discussions on this basis.
Prochaine à Londres pour poursuivre les échanges sur cette base-là, afin que
so that we can hope in the very near future to achieve a full and complete unconditional ceasefire, to which the Ukrainians have already agreed and to which we hope Russia will agree in turn.
et auquel nous souhaitons que la Russie puisse consentir à son tour. On a pendant
For a long time, we feared that the Europeans would not be around the table. Well, today, it is in Paris that the Europeans, the Americans, and the Ukrainians have met for the first time. Thank you.
Je vous remercie.
Vehicle shopping? Make sure you check out Titusville Ford first. Shop our amazing selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock. Visit us on Route 8 in Titusville and see why our customer service is a cut above the rest. Titusville Ford, your hometown dealer.
Winter rages on in Northwest Pennsylvania, and luckily Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning is only a phone call away when your heating emergency strikes. Whether it's residential or light commercial, new construction, repair, or replacement, Vanderhoof has the experience to get the job done right. Call today to set up an appointment or visit the Vanderhoof website to learn more. At Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning, we look forward to fulfilling all of your HVAC needs and projects now and into the future. Vanderhoof Heating and Air Conditioning in Titusville.
Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding is located at 305 East Spring Street in Titusville. Marsh Home Center welcomes you in to explore their growing inventory of name brand furniture, appliances, and bedding. Need something not currently in stock? No problem. Order from Marsh's online catalog and have it delivered right to your door. Visit Marsh's to see their entire showroom. Ask questions, see what items are on sale, or just stop in and say hi. Marsh Home Center Furniture, Appliances, and Bedding, behind Giant Eagle in Titusville.
Looking for expert orthopedic care? Dr. Charlie Gates, a trusted name at Titusville Area Hospital, can help you regain mobility and a better quality of life. With years of experience and a passion for personalized care, Dr. Gates specializes in treating a wide range of orthopedic conditions. Whether it's joint pain, sports injuries, or orthopedic surgery, trust Dr. Charlie Gates at Titusville Area Hospital for your orthopedic care. Call 814-827-9770 today to schedule your appointment.
Welcome to Inspire Med Spa, the place you know and love for massages, Botox, laser resurfacing, and semi-permanent makeup. Now we're offering even more, including laser hair removal, tattoo removal, and hair rejuvenation. Our team is here to provide expert care in a peaceful, luxurious environment designed with your relaxation in mind. And with our newly added services, now you can get all your beauty services in one place. Visit Inspire Med Spa today, because you deserve to look and feel your best.
Interstate Pipe and Supply takes pride in providing superior customer service. That's why our dedicated employees are well trained and have the experience to offer friendly, quick, and reliable service and support. Need materials delivered to your job site? No problem. Interstate offers fast delivery from our 4 locations in Western Pennsylvania. We also serve Eastern Ohio, Northern Western Virginia, and Western New York. Service means business at Western Pennsylvania's premier pipe and supply company, Interstate Pipe and Supply.
Whether you want to go and lead in your craft in the trades, whether you want to go and be that nurse or medical worker and have a real impact on lives, or whether you want to go and help that business improve its bottom line, this is the place. And now is your time to go with confidence, to go with skill, to go succeed. The Education and Training Center at Pitt Titusville.
I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us, but try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same. But you have excuses because you're old, so it's okay.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at soundidouttogether.org.
It's Chevy Truck Month at Community Chevrolet, your Silverado headquarters. So we're getting out the Price Slicer.
Please handle with caution.
This truck month, save more than $9,000 off the new Chevy Silverado 1500 Custom Crew. More than $4,000 off the Silverado 1500 Crew Cab Custom. And more than $2,500 off the 2500.
With 3.9% financing for 5 human years.
The Price Slicer's out all truck month, only at Community Chevrolet.
U.S. stocks ended mixed Thursday, closing out the holiday-shortened week in the red. The Dow was the biggest loser on Thursday, dropping 1.33%. The S&P 500 ended with a small gain, while the Nasdaq finished slightly lower. A late-in-the-day turn lower suggested traders were wary of owning U.S. stocks over the long weekend. Instead, they may be looking overseas, said Melissa Brown, Managing Director of Investment Decision Research at SimCorp.
I think, first of all, if, there is another announcement on tariffs in 90 days, or 90-ish days, I guess by now, we're still in kind of a period of limbo in between now and then, which, in which this uncertainty, could fester and, maybe cause more problems. I think we've already seen a lot of money flowing from the U.S. outside of the U.S., which is why, we've seen the dollar weaker, and European markets doing better than the U.S. market. And so I think I'm not sure that we can go back to just everything going up the way it had been.
Thursday's market movers include Eli Lilly, which surged more than 14% after announcing that its experimental pill worked as well as Ozempic for weight loss. Shares of United Health Group plunged over 22% following a surprising quarterly earnings miss and a bleak full-year forecast. Other health insurers also slumped, with CVS Health and Humana both suffering losses. The stock market will be closed for the Good Friday holiday.
Well, real quick, looking at overcast skies today and temperatures in the mid-70s. How about that? Cloudy this evening, scattered thunderstorms developing after midnight, and lows in the low 60s. Into the weekend, Saturday rain, upper 60s for a high. Easter Sunday, mostly cloudy, low 60s. Monday, showers, low 70s. Tuesday, partly cloudy, upper 50s. And then back into the 70s next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as of right now. So pretty good week coming up. Meadville at 51 degrees. Cambridge Springs, Edinburgh at 51. Titusville at 46 this morning. Franklin at 47 in Oil City. 42 degrees here at 741. This is the Morning Drill. You're watching it on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
The Morning Drill.
Well, joining us this morning, we have Pastors Phil Taylor and Tom Barnard. Good morning, guys. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us here this morning on this Good Friday. We're going to get into the meaning of today, Holy Week itself. We got some time to let this breathe, so that's kind of
Wonderful.
nice. I feel like in the past we've gotten here and it's like, okay, let's quickly run through it. But good to have you on this morning. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Let's start with the events leading up to Holy Week, and we'll just have this conversation.
Okay.
Well, it starts with Christmas. I mean, it actually starts about 3,000 years before that. When we have, isn't that right, Phil?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
when you have you're talking about the Passover.
Well, absolutely.
Yep.
It's when when God created man, and put us here so we could screw things up, and of course he he knew we had screwed up once before and threw us out, and we continued, and then of course we have the prophets coming down through the Jewish faith and prophesying for 2,500 years before Christ's birth. So
Right,
really, if you look at Holy Week, that's where we have to start.
Yeah, there's the beautiful part of it is that the Christian faith doesn't start with the Gospels. We believe in Jehovah God, and He has a story that He's written for us that is the story of history. And there's so many things that are tied into even the things leading up to this final week of Christ's activity on earth during His earthly lifetime that were set in motion for us through the prophetic. And without the Old Testament, we don't have clarity of what's going on during the lifetime of Christ. And so, yeah, it's from creation on, it's the culmination of it all. And it's very difficult to have the conversation about who Christ is without referring to the Old Testament and the events therein.
It's really interesting that some of your mega church pastors are now throwing the Old Testament out of their churches because you can't understand really either the Jewish faith or the Christian faith.
No.
And in some regards, even Islam, unless you have the Old Testament.
Yeah, and something that's curious too is that when it comes to the Christian faith, is that there's, along with some people that are avoiding things in the Old Testament, they also attempt to make this conversation about how somehow Christians have usurped the position and the place of who Israel is. And it's really that God chose that line of people to bring the Messiah to us. I have a book that's, I'm trying to remember the author right now, but the name of the book is Jesus Was Not a Christian, which is a very catchy title. It makes you kind of like, wait a second.
Well, it's almost like Good Friday, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like these are the kind of things that help us as you can't kind of say, well, this is a replacement theology. Really what it is it's God has made this historical path for us here on earth that is uniting the entire globe. We are all under the promise and the covenant that was given to Abraham. And you can't understand Christianity without understanding even what a covenant is, because Jesus was the sacrifice for us on the cross. And if you don't understand a covenant, then you can't fully understand what Christ has done for us.
And rather than being a replacement theology, it is a completion theology.
Yeah.
We, Good Friday and Easter complete the theology going back, 5,000 years now.
Mm-hmm.
That we have written history. Before that, it was oral history, and just well said, Phil. Well said.
Thank you.
And of course, then we get to Christmas, where we have the announcements by Gabriel of the Christ child coming, and the Christ actually coming to earth, the Lord coming to earth, God coming to earth. And what does that mean, and then where does that go? And it was a very short period of time, 33 years before we said, that's enough. We don't want to behave like that. We don't want to behave like you want to behave, God. And those that were in charge put him on a cross. So it's...
Yeah. The beautiful thing is that all the attention that's around Christmas, I actually appreciate that more than Resurrection Weekend being commercialized. I'm so glad that we're not setting up trees and handing out presents. I'm glad that the concept of the Easter Bunny, that's whatever, you can go wherever you want with that, but that is not as strong of a cultural tradition as Christmas is.
Thank goodness.
Because the focus is on the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. I almost think that it would be impossible for humans to come up with a concept that's greater than that. They feel like they may have at Christmas, because Christmas is it's a global thing, and it's the gift of Jesus coming as a child and all that. That's fine. But when you move into the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, you can't come up with a cultural tradition that would usurp that. It wouldn't make any sense. And that's why I think it's kind of funny that you've got a bunny and an egg. It doesn't. It's like they don't even. What is this? This doesn't even go together. So,
do you know what strikes me though this time of year, and this is what I think about, is death to life, right? Mm-hmm. And you see that when you're driving around, the trees look dead.
Right.
Wonderful.
The grass isn't that green, and then slowly things are greening up. You're seeing the trees budding. Things are coming back to life, and that's where, for me, it just all fits, and it's incredible to experience that this time.
That observation even goes along with the Jewish calendar. we're in the Jewish month of Nisan, and Nisan is the beginning of the year for them. The year starts in spring for the Jewish culture, and so that's exactly what's going. And it's interesting because the Jewish calendar God could have chosen that to start at any significant time. I mean, my goodness, marking creation, whatever, that was the beginning of all time. Whatever month they would have, we would have said in our Greco-Roman calendar, that's January. That's when everything began. But, it could have started with the covenant with Abraham, but instead God said this, the being delivered from Egypt and having this Passover, this is the beginning. And that is just a powerful story, because that's really the beginning of what spring is. You say, well, that's a northern hemisphere thing, and it fits. Well, where's Israel? It's in the northern hemisphere, and so there's just this whole idea of what that death to life is, and that's when all of this is taking place, and I think it's extremely special.
Just kind of going back and talking about the Old Testament, it is kind of amazing when people do bypass that, when there are so many wonderful clues that it's fun to look back at when you're into the New Testament, right? And say, boy, you know what, that was mentioned here. It makes it a much fuller story. And again, I don't know how you ignore that.
Yeah.
Well, you can't ignore it. And you use the word fun. Well, it's actually the revealing of what is coming through the Old Testament scriptures is pretty incredible. And when you go back and you look at it, all you can do is say, wow. Wow. You go back 400 years, then you go back 900 years. The next prophet, you go back 300 or 400 or 500 years. The next prophets, go back 1600 years from the birth of Christ, and you've got all these prophets that have said, here's what's coming. And Isaiah saying the suffering servant is coming. And what did that mean? Well, we found out what it meant. Because God had put that, it was a breathed word of God there in the scripture. And he said, he told us what was going to happen. And it takes my breath away when every time I go back and read. I've just gotten through teaching again the Old Testament scriptures to a group of 12 disciples there at First Methodist, and that stuff just takes your breath away when you read it. You can't continue to read when you read those prophecies. You have to stop. You go, wow, and how can people miss that? Mm-hmm. But they do. It's just incredible. So without those prophecies and without seeing what's coming, we would have a lot less of a celebration, I believe, than we're having in this week. Now, today's a pretty tough day. Last night many churches celebrated Holy Thursday, where it's the institution of Holy Communion or the Eucharist or whatever that particular denomination calls it. And we celebrated that, and we celebrated it in many different ways. I had many tables of 12 that at First Methodist that we served, and we celebrate that, and we look forward with sadness, but yet with joy in a lot of respects. Last night we look forward to today, to what's going to happen today as again Isaiah said, in the bruising and the breaking of the body and the things that were done to Jesus of Nazareth, and who we know as the Christ, the chosen, the given one, and now here we are on Friday, and we're going through the day and looking at what happens at noon and at 3 o'clock and remembering. I can't say with any joy celebrating. It is a celebration, mm-hmm. But and there is joy in that.
Right.
But there's a deep hurt. I can't. The word doesn't come to me. That,
the
that we feel.
scriptures refer to it as like there's that phrase that's even in a song that we've sung many times. It talks about that there may be sorrow in the night, but joy comes in the morning, and that's exactly where we are right now. Is that we're able to look at these particular events because we are on the other side of the resurrection.
Yeah.
See, we're actually not even in a state of mourning as the followers of Christ were on that day. When Jesus was put on the cross, there was mass confusion among his believers, even though he had done everything that he could do to say, this is what's going to happen. I love the transparency of the authors of the gospel, where they're like, we had no idea. Yeah. We had no idea. He said it over and over and over again, but yet there was a great scattering that happens right away at the Garden of Gethsemane. It's just so we're in a different place. We know that Jesus has risen, and he is seated at the right hand of his Father, awaiting his second coming. And so there's joy in the entire weekend, but there's a solemnness. That's to this event, because we're recognizing what had to be done to Christ in order for us to be redeemed back to the Father. And there's no other way it could have been done. And we know that because Jesus in his own words said, Father, if there is any other way, let this cup pass from me. Yeah. Do we have a plan B? Jesus came to this earth knowing that there wasn't a plan B. Jesus came to this earth knowing exactly what he was going to have to do. And when it came to the night of, it was, Father, if there's any other way.
Amen. And before that, you mentioned, we know, and because we have all of the story, we have all the account, and in essence, we know what's going to happen at the end. We won, but anyway, we take Thursday night. You talk about the disciples not knowing. I mean, can you imagine sitting at that table and Jesus interrupts it, and he takes he takes a piece of bread, unleavened bread, and he breaks it, and he says, "This is my body broken for you." They had no clue. I mean, they didn't know what he was talking about, but they at that point at least knew who he was and had said, we know you are the Christ. So they knew, and then after supper, taking the cup and saying, "This is my blood of the new covenant." And again, they had no idea of the brokenness of his body and of the shedding of his blood for our redemption, which now we know. But they knew 24 hours later,
right?
What the deal was, and why he had to do what he did, even though they scattered. They were human,
right?
And these were young men. Anywhere from probably 17 to 24 years old.
Yeah,
and they
incredible.
They were just absolutely frightened for their lives, and we all would have been.
Yeah.
But they sure got their backbone back in a hurry, didn't they?
Yeah. And it's really amazing the revelation that happens even around the institution of the Lord's Supper, because. If we fast forward a little bit, if you don't mind me kind of, if somebody doesn't realize what this weekend is all about, spoiler alert, he rises from the dead on Sunday. But something that's really interesting is even the road to Emmaus is that when he comes across these two followers, these two disciples, they're having this conversation about the weekend. And then Jesus is there and they don't recognize him. And so just staying with this whole idea of the Lord's Supper is that the events that lead up to it is that he's about to continue on. They say, no, we want to sit and listen to more of these teachings. And so he stays with them and he tells the whole events from, just like what we did, from the Old Testament to his death, burial, and resurrection. And here's what happens. This is so beautiful in this story. It says, when he sat down and he broke the bread, their eyes were opened and they knew who he was. Here's something that's very interesting to me about that event. If I were to be a Charles Dickens, for example, observing this and trying to put this out, when he had to stretch his hands out and break the bread, they would have seen the scars on his hands. And that is, in that moment, they're breaking bread with the Lamb of God. And their eyes are opened immediately, and they realize this is the Messiah.
Pretty awesome.
What an amazing event. And so Jesus, all along the way, his entire life, Luke, is just like wrapped around this event, because he even says, this is why I came. I came to seek and save the lost. That's why he was here. Jesus, his entire life was prophesied through the Old Testament. He came born of a virgin, just the way Scripture said. But the one thing that was a non-negotiable was that the Son of God had to go to the cross. He had to die. He had to die the way that he did, and then he had to rise again after being in the earth for 3 days. Those things had to happen. And when they did, all of those events were completely out of his control. Once the Roman government took over and was going to execute him, he can't say, okay, here's what you have to do. In the Old Testament, it says, you have to do this. You have to treat me this way. You have to do this to me. You don't have any control over that. And so all of these events that were leading up to it, that was exactly the way that it had to happen. And when you look at that, there's nothing at all anywhere in our history that even comes close to demonstrating what happened there.
Let's pick up there. We got to take a news break, and we'll come right back and talk about that. Our coverage will continue after this.
Baseline of a substantial number, which we never got anything. The United States never got anything until I came along, and then I put very substantial tariffs on China, if you remember. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Relationship with President Xi. Why not pick up the phone and call him and make a deal?
Oh, we're going to make a deal. We'll have a deal. I think we're going to make a very good deal with China.
Do you plan to reach out to him and call him?
I think that you will see we'll make a very good deal with China.
Et ces discussions très ouvertes, très franches.
And these very open, very frank discussions will have made it possible to advance the thinking of the Europeans, the Ukrainians, and the Americans who have agreed to meet next week in London to continue discussions on this basis.
Prochaine à Londres pour poursuivre les échanges sur cette base-là, afin que
so that we can hope in the very near future to achieve a full and complete unconditional ceasefire, to which the Ukrainians have already agreed and to which we hope Russia will agree in turn.
Et auquel nous souhaitons que la Russie puisse consentir à son tour.
For a long time, we feared that the Europeans would not be around the table. Well, today, it is in Paris that the Europeans, the Americans, and the Ukrainians have met for the first time. Thank you.
Je vous remercie.
Thinking about switching to 5G home internet? Think again. Unlike Zoom from Armstrong, 5G home internet is delivered by a cell tower. The further away you are, or the more devices connected to that tower, the slower your internet is. Cell phone providers also play favorites. When their network gets busy, cell phones win, and your home internet pays the price. Stick with Armstrong to get more data, more speed, and internet whenever you need it, not whenever they want. Armstrong, keeping you connected.
Are you tired of juggling multiple pill bottles? Titusville Express Pharmacy has your solution, now offering compliance packaging. Your medication sorted and sealed by dose, making it easier than ever to stay on track. In a hurry? Take advantage of our convenient drive-through service. We also offer free local delivery for those that qualify. Titusville Express Pharmacy, where convenience meets care. Visit us today at 401 West Spring Street in Titusville. Simplify your medication routine with Titusville Express Pharmacy.
Poppy's Equipment and Storage Rental in Pleasantville is committed to providing our customers with exceptional service while offering quality rental equipment. Poppy's is now an authorized steel dealer with everything you need to have for sawing and cutting or mowing to digging. And of course, Poppy's has tents, tables, chairs, heaters, generators, barbecues, and more for your next wedding or get-together. Need firewood or propane? No problem. Whether you're in construction or a weekend warrior, reach out to Poppy's about your next project. Poppy's Place on the Tenesta Road in Pleasantville. Community Connect Federal Credit Union, serving Crawford, Venango, Forest, and Warren counties. Their mission is to provide quality, low-cost, and personal financial products for the growth and security of their members and families. Stop in, call, or visit our website, communityconnectfcu.com, and click Join to get started. Community Connect Federal Credit Union, 1050 East Spring Street in Titusville.
For a unique shopping experience with great gift ideas, decor, and so much more, come check out what Titusville Market Square's nearly 100 vendors have to offer. Featuring unique items from local agribusiness, craftsmen, and vendors. We also offer products from 4 regional dairies, including a full line of Titusville dairy products. We carry a complete line of Amish wedding products, local honey, and maple syrup, as well as nostalgic Dog and Suds root beer and Fiestada pizzas. Don't forget to pick up fresh Clark's Donuts, delivered daily. Titusville Market Square, the new name in one-stop shopping.
Who can solve this equation?
Ooh! Me.
Anyone else? Fine. Jake from State Farm.
Okay. All right. It's the personal price plan theorem. If you bundle your home and auto, that can equal an affordable price just for you.
Bundling. Just another way to save with the personal price plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Fat Chad's Brewing is Titusville's premier dining destination, offering fine dining served with a cold beverage and great conversations. Try our new menu items, the T-bone steak, homemade meatloaf dinner, or soft shell crab tacos. Our pasta entries and sandwiches are just as popular. Try the new lobster ravioli, shrimp and scallop pasta, or our popular Asiago chicken. Don't forget about our famous burgers or fish sandwich, all served with fresh cut fries. Come in Saturday nights for Wild Game Saturdays. For good food and good times, it's Fat Chad's Brewing in Titusville.
For over 11 years, Triple M Roofing has been providing Amish quality craftsmanship and work ethic that you can rely on. Pole barns, decks, porches, siding, and almost all roofing needs, Triple M Roofing will get the job done on time without sacrificing quality or the promise to deliver within your budget. Call today for a free estimate, 814-964-0472. Waiting is what you'll do with the other guys. Getting it done is what we do. Amish owned and operated, we're Triple M Roofing.
U.S. stocks ended mixed Thursday, closing out the holiday-shortened week in the red. The Dow was the biggest loser on Thursday, dropping 1.33%. The S&P 500 ended with a small gain, while the Nasdaq finished slightly lower. A late-in-the-day turn lower suggested traders were wary of owning U.S. stocks over the long weekend. Instead, they may be looking overseas, said Melissa Brown, Managing Director of Investment Decision Research at SimCorp.
I think, first of all, if, there is another announcement on tariffs in 90 days, or 90-ish days, I guess by now, we're still in kind of a period of limbo in between now and then, which, in which this uncertainty, could fester and, maybe cause more problems. I think we've already seen a lot of money flowing from the U.S. outside of the U.S., which is why, we've seen the dollar weaker. And European markets doing better than the U.S. market. And so I think I'm not sure that we can go back to just everything, going up the way it had been.
Thursday's market movers include Eli Lilly, which surged more than 14% after announcing that its experimental pill worked as well as Ozempic for weight loss. Shares of United Health Group plunged over 22% following a surprising quarterly earnings miss and a bleak full-year forecast. Other health insurers also slumped, with CVS Health and Humana both suffering losses. The stock market will be closed for the Good Friday holiday.
Well, real quick look at the forecast for Northwest Pennsylvania. We are looking at overcast conditions today. Temperatures in the mid-70s. Cloudy this evening. Scattered thunderstorms developing after midnight with lows in the low 60s. Saturday, rain, upper 60s. Easter Sunday, mostly cloudy, low 60s. And Monday, showers with temperatures in the low 70s. Tuesday, breaking through that rain with some partly cloudy skies and highs in the upper 50s. 8:08 is our time. This is the Morning Drill. You're watching it on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Pastor Tom Barnard with us, Pastor Phil Taylor with us here on this Good Friday, having a great discussion about Holy Week. And I was really excited to hear going beyond or before that, way back to the beginning and bringing that element into it. Because again, it really just opens up the importance of this week. Let's pick up on Sunday, Palm Sunday, Passion Sunday, and what was the message each of you had and sort of that mission for everybody once they left to be thinking about this week and leading into the events of this weekend?
Go ahead.
Well, mine was really quite simple. It's the story of humanity. You know, we hope for something, and we know it's going to happen that way. And when it appears to be happening, we'll cheer and we'll yell and we'll so forth. You know, the right quarterback's on the field. We got the right tackles. We got the right guards, and we're going to win this game, right? And that's of course what Palm Sunday was all about. The crowds said, "Ha! We've got the guy going to come in on a white horse. Oh well, I guess he's on a donkey." But they were still cheering, in looking at this Savior that they were calling him, you know, Hosanna, and the hope that they had for all of these prophecies that they could see being fulfilled, and the great King coming and taking over and getting rid of their oppressors and forever being at peace. I mean, this was all part of their thinking and their history going back again 3,000 years at that point. And whoa, you know, some of them realized that, but what they didn't realize, of course, was really what was happening. And Christ doesn't come as a military conqueror. He comes as a humble servant on a donkey, you know, on a colt, the foal of a donkey, and they couldn't wrap their heads around that. They couldn't see that part of the prophecy, and so that's what Sunday is. It's celebrating because we are about to. We know that it's coming, but yet do we really know how it's coming? And we might know why it's coming, but when is it coming? And so we are human, and we're going to cheer, and you know, and the stadium's going to rock. And sometimes we win the game, and sometimes we lose the game, and of course we're going through today, which they think they've lost the game.
Yeah.
You know, but going back to Sunday, that was pretty much my message. What was your message, Phil?
By the way, as a Steeler fan, we don't have a quarterback. So
I didn't mean to hurt you, Luke. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the culmination of the prophetic that was happening with Jesus, all the events that were leading up to him coming in on that triumphal entry that we have in Scripture. And so last week, that's what I did, is we kind of read through the entire event. I love when we have opportunities to say, here's what Scripture says. And so I read through that entire event and connected it back to the prophetic way that things were going to be unfolding for us in Scripture, and also forecasting what this next week was going to look like. We have the crowd that was shouting, and then just a few days later, many of those same people began to turn around on him, and they were also going to be a part of that crowd. They were going to be saying, "Crucify him. We have no other king except Caesar." And so
pretty much the same that's happening to the Steelers.
Yeah. And so this idea of Jesus coming in, there was a tremendous awareness that the people's heart was not fully affected. It was simply this, is that all the miracles that Christ had done, they weren't going to be what's going to turn people's hearts. Miracles don't do it. Why? Because a number of those people that were there at the triumphal entry had heard just days ago that Jesus had raised Lazarus from the dead. And what had happened to the Pharisees, instead of looking at that going, this man must be somebody, instead, what they did is that actually they dug their heels in, and they even heightened their purpose on trying to kill him. and not only kill Jesus, they wanted to kill the walking proof that Jesus had done a miracle. They wanted to kill Lazarus too.
But the reason they wanted, they wanted to do that was because why? They were losing their power.
Yeah, their authority was under was definitely
supreme
under attack. Yeah. And so that the focus of my message on Sunday was there no level of miracles were going to draw people to Christ. And that was the awareness when he gets to the Garden of Gethsemane and he says, if there's any other way, may this cup pass from me. Jesus was fully aware. He had fed 5,000 people from just a small lunch. How many people were a part of that meal that were there? He had fed 4,000 with a similar account. How many people were there? So we're talking, if we were even saying that they were two completely separate events, we're talking 9,000 people were fed, and they're all, a lot of them are probably there. The miracles weren't going to do it. The only thing that leads somebody to salvation is the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Jesus could have done one other thing, which I'll be talking about on Sunday, is Jesus could have answered their challenge while he was on the cross. If you are the Son of God, then come down off of that tree and we'll believe. Jesus already knew that that wasn't true, because he had already done some pretty miraculous things. And Jesus also knew that if he did do that, if he called a legion of angels to come down and save him from that moment, redemption would have been lost. Because why? The Lamb of God would not have been slain for the world. And so there was that challenge that was put out. You come down off of that cross and we'll believe. And Jesus is like, no, you won't. All these miracles I've already done. You do that. You seek a sign, but no sign will be given except for what? The sign of Jonah, 3 days, right? That's the only sign that's gonna make a difference. You've been given all this stuff, but the only way that you will believe eventually is if I go through with this whole thing. And that's what's going on, is that triumphal entry was setting the stage. I call it the beginning of the beginning. I mean, it's just like it's the second Adam. And why even that phrasing is very intentional. Adam, the first man, and Jesus, the source of our redemption back to God. And so it's the beginning of what we're experiencing.
And then you jump forward from that. We're gonna jump over this week right now for about 2,000 years, and you jump to today. And you have what we experienced last night. I'll go back to Holy Thursday. And we have the washing of the soul with the blood of Christ, and we have people today experiencing miracles. Miracles are happening all the time. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen cancer miraculously cured. I've seen amazing things. Laid hands on people and had amazing things happen. Not because I laid hands on, but because God did that. And yet, they'll falter. A year or two later, they'll say, no, that really wasn't it. It's the same thing happens over and over and over again. We keep denying. And that's what was happening here in Holy Week, where you go from the great proclamation of Palm Sunday to Thursday, in the Garden of Gethsemane, and Christ literally weeping tears of blood. Okay, to today, to Good Friday, what we call Good Friday, in the fulfillment of all of the prophecies of the Scripture, and that's why, you're 1,000% on, Phil. That's why it had to happen that way. Period. And just to point out today, the same things are still happening, and will happen until Christ does come back. We'll continue to deny the miracles. We'll continue to say he really wasn't the Christ. We'll continue to say, this is just a human construct, so we can get rid of our problems. And we'll deny all that has happened all the way through the entirety of those 66 books. And even though we can still see it coming, those of us that understand and our faith doesn't falter.
That's part of faith, though, right? It's not saying okay, show me, give me another reason to believe.
Right.
Yeah,
I've given that to you.
Yeah.
It's an old 5-letter word. It's faith. Without that, where are we? Well, we're right back to Good Friday.
Yeah, and our culture, even there's the misconception that that you hear often is that Christians are just a bunch of needy people looking for a way to have purpose in this world, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I have so many people that have said, I've been trying to witness to my uncle, and he's got everything he does. There's no need in his life, and that's the lie that the enemy is given, is that because there's material things that are met, they're completely missing what is happening spiritually to them. That we have all sinned, we all fall short. We all have these flaws within us, this sin that is just a part of who we are in humanity. And to say that I have no needs simply means that you do have needs. It's just that they're all being met by the world, and none of them are being met by Christ. And so it's actually a confession of how much you need the Lord, because what you're doing is that Maserati is filling a spot in your heart instead of the power and authority of Jesus Christ. And the Maserati rusts and fades away, and the Word of God stands forever.
And we were talking about that during the break to some degree. We were talking about the thieves on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And one thief, laughed and said, "Yeah, right." Mm-hmm. And the other thief said, "Lord, forgive me. I believe." Mm-hmm. And what did Christ say to him?
Yeah, today.
Today you will be with me in paradise. Mm-hmm. And it's that all human and all God dichotomy that is so hard for us to wrap our minds around, to understand, is how can this man on a cross speak in fact as God, while also enduring all of the pain, the punishment, all of this that went through it. So it's that dichotomy, but yet at the same time.
Well, I was going to say there's a local pastor who compares it to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You put peanut butter on one slice, jelly on the other. Does it mix together? They stay the same, but they're together, right? They don't. The peanut butter and jelly don't mix in with each other. They remain separate.
I like that. Is that you?
No.
Oh.
No.
But I think that the miraculous part of it is that with this journey that we see right now, as we reflect on this weekend, is that this was the exact plan from the moment that sin entered the world. And there's no other religion that offers hope. There's no other religion that their God came and did what Jesus did.
Amen.
There's no other religion that even has a prophet of notoriety. Jesus was not simply a prophet. He was not simply a good man. Because if he was those things, then what he said was actually kind of foolish, because a prophet doesn't say, "I am the Son of God." A prophet doesn't say, "If you've seen me, you've seen the Father." And so Jesus didn't leave any room for him to be anything other than the Messiah,
who he was.
And that's the both sides of the coin that we have.
Real quick, what's a passage somebody should be taking in if they're going to read anything this weekend? What's the one passage? And then tell us what's going on, Phil. What's happening at Grace Fellowship this weekend?
Yeah, so myself and Tim Maybray and some people from both of our churches are going to be helping out with today at noon at the YMCA. We're going to be doing a Good Friday service from 12:15 to 12:45. Then at Grace Fellowship tonight, we have our Good Friday service from 6 to 7. And then, of course, we're together on Resurrection morning at 10 o'clock, as usual. If I were to say what's one thing, it would be to recognize the words of Paul when he boldly declares that if Jesus didn't do these things, then our faith is in vain. That there's no point for any of this, which might be an arrow in somebody's quiver to say, "Yep, see, he's saying it." But the reality is that was a rhetorical statement. That obviously our faith is not in vain.
Let's leave that at that, and we will at First Church. I'll be there at noon too, by the
Wonderful.
way. And at First Church, we're going to have a breakfast starting at 9:15 on Sunday. Whole community is invited. Come on over. We're going to have a full breakfast and just have fabulous fellowship. And then at 10:30, we're going to have our Easter celebration, and it should be a great time. Pick up your Bible, dust it off. If it's the King James Version, you're going to have to read a little bit different language, but pick it up and look through it until you find, either in any of the Gospels or in Corinthians, you find the story of the celebration of the resurrection. So look it up, read it. Turn the TV on. There'll be lots of TV programs on it. Somehow be part of a celebration. If you can't get out of your house and go to a fellowship, turn your TV on, turn your radio on, and let it sink into your heart. Let it refresh your very soul as to whose we are and why we are His. And to feel that warmth and that assurance that we're temporarily here, but we have an eternity in front of us, and now we know what that eternity can be, and then celebrate.
Well said, Pastor Tom, Pastor Phil. Thank you so much for your time. And 3 locals will be performing tonight as well. I think at 7 o'clock or after Nat, Joe, and Anna. Phil, you mentioned that Road to Emmaus. We'll exit with their performance of it. So,
okay.
Thank you guys for coming in this morning.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Have a wonderful Easter. Thank you.
Great coffee, by the way.
Given talks with Japan and Italy this week, do you expect to announce an initial trade deal with any of these countries by next
At a
week?
certain point, yeah, we're in no rush. We're in no rush. You have to understand we're getting right now 25% on cars, 25% on steel, 25% on aluminum. We're getting a 10% baseline. We took that down just because it was, the appropriate thing to do until we decide what the number will be. And we're, taking in a lot of money. We're going to end up with a baseline of a substantial number, which we never got anything. The United States never got anything until I came along, and then I put very substantial tariffs on China, if you remember. And we took in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Your relationship with President Xi, why not pick up the phone and call him and make a deal?
Oh, we're going to make a deal. We'll have a deal. I think we're going to make a very good deal with China.
Do you plan to reach out to him and call him?
I think that you will see we'll make a very good deal with China.
Et ces discussions très ouvertes, très franches.
And these very open, very frank discussions will have made it possible to advance the thinking of the Europeans, the Ukrainians, and the Americans who have agreed to meet next week in London to continue discussions on this basis.
Prochaine à Londres pour poursuivre les échanges sur cette base-là, afin que
so that we can hope in the very near future to achieve a full and complete unconditional ceasefire, to which the Ukrainians have already agreed and to which we hope Russia will agree in turn.
et auquel nous souhaitons que la Russie puisse consentir à son tour. On a pendant longtemps.
For a long time, we feared that the Europeans would not be around the table. Well, today, it is in Paris that the Europeans, the Americans, and the Ukrainians have met for the first time. Thank you.
Je vous remercie.
The Gordon B. Garrett Funeral Home has been serving the needs of Titusville and surrounding communities since 1965. Mr. Garrett believed in tradition and commitment to excellence, standards that have been passed down from one generation to now a new generation, who will work to provide you with a beautiful, lasting tribute to your loved one. When you need them, they will be there for you. This has been their foundation for almost 60 years. The Gordon B. Garrett Funeral Home, 303 North Washington Street in Titusville.
Anyone with a kind and generous heart and a little money can be a philanthropist. You too can be a force for good in our community, and the Crawford Heritage Community Foundation is here to help you make the most of your charitable giving. We've partnered with hundreds of people like you to make our world and our community a better place. You can give through us to support scholarships or any charitable organization or purpose. Whether you're interested in establishing a permanent endowment or adding to an existing fund, we want to be a part of your plan. Contact us when you're ready to make your mark. Together, we can make your contribution go further.
If you're looking for a professional massage therapist, Tranquil Moments Massage in Titusville is here for you. Rayan Rauch graduated from Slippery Rock University with a bachelor's degree in exercise and rehabilitative sciences with an emphasis in athletic training. Tranquil Moments offers a wide range of services, from Swedish massage to deep tissue, sugar scrubs to hot towel inclusion therapy. Like them on Facebook and visit their website to learn more about all the services they offer. Tranquil Moments Massage in Titusville.
Thinking about switching to 5G home internet? Think again. Unlike Zoom from Armstrong, 5G home internet is delivered by a cell tower. The further away you are, or the more devices connected to that tower, the slower your internet is. Cell phone providers also play favorites. When their network gets busy, cell phones win, and your home internet pays the price. Stick with Armstrong to get more data, more speed, and internet whenever you need it, not whenever they want. Armstrong, keeping you connected.
J. Gill Plumbing and Heating takes pride in being the premier heating and air conditioning service provider in the area. With over 30 years of experience, our highly skilled and certified technicians will work closely with you to address your heating and air conditioning repair, installation, or maintenance needs. Our team is dedicated to making your home the ultimate place of comfort. Call today to get a free estimate. We also offer financing options and membership opportunities that provide peace of mind and cost savings. Call J. Gill Plumbing and Heating today or visit them online 24/7 at jgillplumbingheating.com.
Sheer Design is Titusville's exclusive Paul Mitchell focused salon. This full-service salon specializes in coloring, cuts, nails, and tanning. Owner Angela Saxon has over 20 years experience as a Paul Mitchell professional. She and her licensed staff offer all cuts and styles for men and women of all ages. Call 814-827-0010 or stop in at 116 South Kerr Street in Titusville.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Levin, and I proudly own and operate Puppy Levin. Puppy Levin is a pet care salon dedicated to caring for your furry companions. We provide certified dog grooming services, along with boarding and doggy daycare. Our facility is family-owned and operated and promise personalized care for every pet that comes through our doors. If you're worried about your furry friend being lonely when you're gone, we also have on-site personnel 24/7 just for their comfort. Follow us on Facebook and call or text us at 814-758-9259 to make an appointment today.
Share the fun of train travel and relive our country's oil history as you ride the OC&T through the valley that changed the world. Learn about the past while traveling on vintage cars. See a variety of wildlife with stops at Drakewell Park, Petroleum Center, and Oil Creek State Park. Arrive early and see the vast collection of train and railroad memorabilia at Perry Street Station. After the ride, enjoy a night's stay at the Caboose Motel. For seasonal specials or for more information, visit octrr.org or call 814-676-1733.
U.S. stocks ended mixed Thursday, closing out the holiday-shortened week in the red. The Dow was the biggest loser on Thursday, dropping 1 1/3%. The S&P 500 ended with a small gain, while the Nasdaq finished slightly lower. A late-in-the-day turn lower suggested traders were wary of owning U.S. stocks over the long weekend. Instead, they may be looking overseas, said Melissa Brown, Managing Director of Investment Decision Research at SimCorp.
I think, first of all, if, there is another announcement on tariffs in 90 days, or 90-ish days, I guess by now, we're still in kind of a period of limbo in between now and then, which, in which this uncertainty, could fester and, maybe cause more problems. I think we've already seen a lot of money flowing from the U.S. outside of the U.S., which is why, we've seen the dollar weaker, and European markets doing better than the U.S. market. And so I think I'm not sure that we can go back to just everything going up the way it had been.
Thursday's market movers include Eli Lilly, which surged more than 14% after announcing that its experimental pill worked as well as Ozempic for weight loss. Shares of United Health Group plunged over 22% following a surprising quarterly earnings miss and a bleak full-year forecast. Other health insurers also slumped, with CVS Health and Humana both suffering losses. The stock market will be closed for the Good Friday holiday.
From why a tariff tit for tat just might have peaked, to why gold is looking ever more shiny, this is the week in numbers. 145% might be as high as US tariffs go on China. Donald Trump said Thursday that he didn't want to go any further and could even think about bringing the duties down. He said he was hopeful he would strike trade deals with China and the EU.
I mean, everybody wants to make a deal.
$5.5 billion is the total charge being taken by Nvidia over US curbs on its sales to China. Washington has now restricted exports of its H20 AI chips, previously the most advanced models still permitted for sale to China. Nvidia says US officials are worried its products could be used to build supercomputers. 0.25 percentage point was the cut to rates by the European Central Bank, marking its 7th reduction in a year. Bank President Christine Lagarde indicated the bloc's economy needs help amid rising trade tensions.
Downside risks to economic growth have increased.
Trump called on the US Federal Reserve to do likewise, blasting Chair Jerome Powell for being too slow to cut rates. 5.4% was the jump in China's GDP over the January to March quarter, better than analysts expected. But economists say the numbers were probably flattered by a surge in exports as shippers rushed to beat US tariffs. They say the figures could plunge over the months ahead as Trump's levies kick in. And over $3,300 per ounce was the fresh record high hit by gold. The precious metal is soaring as investors seek out perceived safe havens amid the market turmoil. Since gold is priced in dollars, it's also been boosted by the sliding greenback, which makes it cheaper to buy for investors holding other currencies.
Well, joining us this morning is Mr. Sports, Bruce Peterson. Good morning, Bruce. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Luke. Beautiful Easter weekend ahead of us. Looks like it's going to be warm.
It's going to be a beautiful day today.
Yeah, 70s, I think.
Yeah. Be a good day. Good day to get thrown out of a baseball game, perhaps.
Well,
it got interesting last night, didn't it?
Yeah, 1-0. Yeah, 1-0. Haney pitched 10-year anniversary was 10 years and pitched a gem of a game. They won 1-0. Boy, there's not many 1-0 games anymore. That's kind of unusual.
Well, and I think the Nationals pitcher, Lopez, got thrown at McCutchen. And I don't know if that was to make up for a couple nights ago where Pittsburgh hit the batter and broke his nose, and that was horrible. I don't think that was intentional, though. Last night looked.
No, I don't either.
Last night looked intentional.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean, it. Let's face it. Pitchers today, in some cases, don't have the control that pitchers of old had. Pitchers of old could put the ball exactly where they wanted, but hey, mistakes happen.
Well,
you're throwing at somebody.
Well, yeah, but I think you brought this up a week or two ago about, part of the problem with the weather is, these guys are playing in cold temperatures, and it's affecting how they're pitching, ball rotation.
Muscles tighten up when it's cold. That's why you notice a lot of teams, they start playing better when it gets warmer,
Well,
they do.
That should be by July, they say.
Yeah, well, it's been a pretty cold spring. In fact, I think actually the last half of March was actually warmer than most of April's been. April's been a really cold month. We've had 2 really snowy winter days. I mean, I had snow on the ground here 3 days ago, a lot. So anyway, but spring comes every year. It always does. Whether it always comes, no matter. How spring turns out, warm weather always comes.
That's right. Well, where do you want to start this morning?
Well, I was just listening to Steeler Nation Radio, yesterday's podcast with Williamson and Lally, and they were talking about Rodgers. And so I thought I would share some things. And if you want to watch it, just go to the Steeler Nation Radio, go to Steeler website, Steeler Nation Radio. It's the 17th podcast. They put them up every day. And listen to him. It really, I think, clarifies Rodgers' situation. He's told McAfee that he's having some personal issues. It didn't elaborate, but they're affecting his signing right now. He wants to deal with them. He also said he was really upset with the Jets letting him go because he wanted to play another year, which leads me to believe he's going to play another year. They indicated that Tomlin is in constant contact with him. And that he knows Arthur Smith. They're friends. They've been friends for a while. So a lot of people said that those two didn't match up. So, and also he knows Tom Roth, the quarterback coach. So it seems to me that it's going to happen when it's going to happen, and that Pittsburgh feels confident that it's going to happen. Dale Lally came right out and said he feels 100% sure that Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh. And this is a guy who's on their daily podcast. So I wanted to share that.
I watched the interview on Pat McAfee's show with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't disagree with that. And will he retire? I think that's on the table. It might not be the main dish on the table, but I think it's there. And I think both he and Pittsburgh have an understanding like, hey, Pittsburgh needs to do what they need to do, and he's fine with that. If he can play a role.
Right. And I still think that he's going to wind up there. And they don't seem to be concerned. They don't seem to be, upset. I mean, they're just going along, building their team. And I did want to talk about the draft coming up because, remember, a week from today, the first-round pick will have been made. So next week at this time, we're going to talk about the first-round pick, whoever that may be. I don't think it's not going to be a quarterback. I just tell you that. There's no – by the time they pick 21st in the draft next week, the first-round quarterbacks will be long gone. And so but they have a pick in every round except the second round. I still have a feeling, Luke, and I'm just going to share this with you. I still have a feeling that they may make a trade to get back up into that second round, because there's not a lot of gems in this year's draft, but there's a lot of value to be had from that late first round, second round, early third round. There's a lot of really good football players in that part of the draft that I think they want to get their hands on. So I kind of have a feeling they're going to make a draft.
So would that be the possibility of getting rid of T.J. Watt?
No.
Okay. Because I think that story has sort of taken over the Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh headlines.
I don't. They talked about that. They talked about that on the show, and they discounted that right away. They said, no, that's not going to happen. And the reason I like to listen to them is they work for the Steelers. They're around the facility. They know what's being talked about. They're not speculating.
So what are they saying about T.J. Watt?
They discounted the story altogether. They just discounted the story altogether. They said there's no truth to that. That they're not thinking about trading him. I think if there's anybody they think about trading, it's probably Pickens. Now, whether they do or not, I don't know. You know how the Steelers are. They play it very close to the vest. They don't let you know what they're thinking on purpose.
Right. Well, so maybe not getting rid of him, but is T.J. Watt unhappy right now with the negotiations?
I don't know that. I don't think anybody knows that. And look, this is his last contract. He's going to get as much as he can get. He already has more money than he'll ever need. He's a very wealthy guy. So I think money is secondary. Might he want to go play for someone else? I don't know. The thing about the Steelers they're a good young team. I mean, they're a team on the rise. They're a team that's putting together the complementary players needed to develop a winning championship team. And even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, it's only going to be for 1 year. He's not their long-term answer. and I wanted to mention this. You don't have to have a franchise quarterback to win in the NFL. You don't. It helps. There's a chance that you go further, but if you go back to the early Cowher years, when Cowher first took over, their quarterback was Neil O'Donnell. Now, Neil O'Donnell was a nice quarterback, but he was not a superstar by any stretch of the imagination. But they went to a Super Bowl with him. So you can win with less than stellar quarterback play if you have a great running game and a great defense, which is what it looks like they're trying to develop. So
is that why they're comfortable with Mason?
Yes, exactly. Because if you compare Mason to O'Donnell, pretty similar. Remember, when Neil O'Donnell left to Pittsburgh, he went to the Jets, played a year, and he was out of football. So he kind of fit the Pittsburgh system because they didn't expect him to do everything. It was a running team. They played great defense, so all you have to do is not screw up. That's what he did.
It's like my marriage. Amy doesn't expect a whole lot out of me.
That's right. Just don't screw up, Luke.
Just don't screw up.
Don't screw up. Exactly. So, I mean, that's the way you've got to play when you don't have this great quarterback, because they don't come along every day. Who knows when they're going to get the next one? Because remember, they went from Bradshaw to Roethlisberger. I think there was, it was 13, 14 years between those two quarterbacks. There were some good quarterbacks in between. And remember, they went to the playoffs with O'Donnell. They went to the playoffs with Cordell Stewart. They went to the playoffs with Tommy Maddox.
Boy, you look now, and Cordell Stewart was ahead of his time.
He was. I think he was really misused by the Steelers. Back then, they didn't know what to do with a running quarterback. Today, you have Allen up in Buffalo, and you have Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. I mean, you have running quarterbacks in the NFL, and they know what to do with them now. They can really become dynamic to the position when they have that option to be able to run and make yardage. You're right. He was misused. And there's a little story, and I think this ties into sometimes where offensive coordinators have their head up there, you know what. Cordero Stewart was playing in a game in the late 90s, and he got the hike, and it was supposed to be an out pass, an out route. So the ball gets hiked, the hole opens up in the middle of the field. He runs for a touchdown. He's thinking, the offensive coordinator is going to like this. He goes to the sideline, and Gilbride chews him out for not making a pass. And I say, what are these people thinking? He just made a touchdown. You don't chew the guy out, but, anyway, don't get me started.
Let's do this real quick. You're watching the Morning Drill on Stream TV and on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Mr. Sports, Bruce Peterson with us here this morning. Anything else with the Steelers?
No, that's pretty much it. They have, like I said, they have a draft pick in every round except the second, and I think they're going to try to get back into that round. So we'll see. Penguins played their last game last night of the season. They won it 5-2. I think the news about the Penguins this year is they got 12 picks in the draft. They got 2 in the first round, 1 in the second, 3 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, 1 in the seventh. So DeBoss, their general manager, obviously is bringing in lots of young talent, and having 2 picks in the first round is a big deal, especially if they're high in the first round. And then having 1 in the second, 3 in the third. So they're a team that's going to look to really increase the amount of young talent they have on a team. And they have a pretty good young team right now. They do. Kovalev and McGroarty both played this season. It looked good. McGroarty got hurt, so he missed the final couple games. They have a goalie, Moskov, who could be a great goalie. They have a lot of high hopes for him. So with all the talent coming up in the draft, I think they're going to be better sooner rather than later. And their coach loves to coach young players. So,
well, the real work begins now, doesn't it?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Who they're going to, because the draft, I think, is sometime in June, so it's a couple of months away. So, yeah, it's out doing your scouting and, meeting with these players and seeing if they fit the kind of play that you want and that sort of thing. So, yeah, now's the play. I think the draft is sometime in June, I think. And so then you bring them in, and it's about 2 months after the NFL draft. So that's about it. We could talk about the Pirates. They did win yesterday. We talked about that early in the game. They are 8-12 in the last the season, and they're in last place in the Central Division. They've got 2 of their starting pitchers out, their top reliever out, their best closers in the minor leagues, and 2 position players, Horowitz and Gonzalez, are both out. So they're kind of playing with a partial lineup right now. They really haven't. They don't have all their players together right now. I think their best days are in front of them, but we'll see. But they do have this staff is built on pitching. They have a lot of really good young pitchers. So as we saw last night, Haney, one of the guys they signed in the offseason, has pitched 2 good games in a row now. So,
well, they begin a series with the Guardians, so that's always a fun rivalry to watch.
Yeah, the Cleveland-Pittsburgh rivalry. Yeah, it's not probably as big as the football rivalry is.
No,
but it's big. And in fact, when I was a kid, really young kid, back when the Pirates were bad, my brother John, his favorite team was Cleveland. We used to go to Cleveland games. And I saw Rocky Colavito and some of those old Cleveland players play over in that big hulk of a stadium, Cleveland Stadium, which has now since been torn down. But you can see it in the movie Major League.
That's right. And that's been on a lot.
Movie? That's that old stadium, which was, by the way, was a great baseball movie.
Yes.
Great baseball movie.
It was just on the other night.
Yep. My favorite baseball movie outside of Bull Durham. Bull Durham was my other favorite baseball movie. But that
Bruce, we should get your top 5. I mean, not like there's a ton of baseball movies, but like Field of Dreams.
I've been thinking about doing that. I really have. I've been thinking about doing a for all sports, for hockey, for football, for baseball. And by the way, I watched a game, a video that I watched lately is Varsity Blues. And if you've not watched Varsity Blues, that's a great movie. In fact, I think it's the best teenage football movie there is, Varsity Blues. So we'll in fact, next week we'll talk about that, about that movie. Yeah.
I won't ask you to rank the golf movies.
But there are some good ones.
There are
golf movies, but we're not going to go there.
No, as much as I spent a lot of the beginning of the week talking about the Masters, so I think we're good there.
Yeah.
It was an outstanding weekend.
Yeah. And I know nothing of what happened. I couldn't tell you who even played. And, the funny thing is, I used to follow golf. I used to be a big golf fan. I never played golf. Well, I did a few times. But yeah, I used to follow golf. But I don't know who the new players are now, and I couldn't even begin to tell you who played in the finals.
Bruce, there's going to be a lot of talk between now and next week with what the Steelers should be doing. Obviously, the Steelers probably are going to disappoint some folks in their decisions, but fans aren't at those meetings in private, are they?
No, they're not. And I trust the Steelers. I mean, I say this, I've said this before. If you look at the record, the comprehensive record of all the teams in professional football since the two leagues merged, who has the most wins? The Pittsburgh Steelers. Need I say more?
And on that note,
they kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah. Bruce, have a great Easter. Have a great weekend.
Happy Easter, everybody. We're having ham and other stuff. So, yeah, good talking to you, and we'll see you next week.
Enjoy it.
We'll
Thanks.
talk about Varsity Blues. Yeah, see ya.
See you, Bruce.
Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. And take it easy.